When learning is purposeful, creativity blossoms. The human spirit is indomitable and will not be defeated. This has been proved over the last 9 months of the pandemic. And therefore, we are all here, although it is virtually. And that is because of our spirit of being indomitable. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will now take you through a presentation for the work of the ICSE. The ICSE section of the council operates from exclusively a 8-storied building at Noida in Uttar Pradesh. A recap of the ICSE examination in the COVID year 2020. The ICSE examination was scheduled to commence on the 27th of February 2020 and to conclude on the 30th of March. However, due to the COVID situation, we could not complete the 2020 examinations, and therefore exams were only held up to the 18th of March. Listed are the 11 subjects for which the ICSE exams and papers were conducted. With the enforcement of the lockdown and the pandemic from the 24th of March, these subjects could not be held by the ICSE. The second languages, geography, art paper 4, the elective subjects in group 3, Hindi and biology. Again, a statistics of the ICSE 2020 examination at a glance. We had 207,903 candidates who appeared from 2,341 schools across 2,093 examination centers. Now, logistically, for the smooth conduct of these examinations, it is important that we coordinate with the persons we have appointed during this time of the center arrangements. So we had 324 conveners, 441 inspectors, and 3,361 supervising examiners who helped the council to smoothly conduct these examinations. Now, of the 207,903 candidates who were registered for the ICSE 2020 examination, we had 1,689 candidates who had special difficulties and learning disabilities, and they were granted the various concessions that are permissible to help them while they write these examinations. Now, after the conduct of the examinations and also during that time, we have coordination meetings in Delhi, as it was also announced by my colleague, Mrs. Sangeeta Bhatia. Ladies and gentlemen, we will repeat a number of items because both our examinations are common features. Nonetheless, one is to do with the ISC and one is to do with the ICSE. So these coordination meetings are held every year before the commencement of the evaluation. And for the ICSE, we had a total of 652 chiefs and co-chiefs and examiner coordinators who were scheduled to attend these coordination meetings, which were to start from the 4th of March and continue till the 8th of April. Now, these meetings are conducted to ensure that there is correctness of procedure at the various centers of evaluation and to minimize problems which may be faced by our examiners. Again, due to the COVID pandemic, these coordination meetings, which were started, had to be abruptly halted on the 18th of March. The rest of the meetings that were scheduled to continue till April had to be cancelled. Nonetheless, as Sangeeta has repeatedly said, and we at the council, with our own indomitable spirit, thought that the show must go on. And therefore, these coordination meetings were conducted online and they were successful. And for this, I thank all our examiner coordinators, chiefs, and the co-chiefs for their cooperation in helping us to conduct these meetings. The centralized evaluation we had put into place for the 2020 examination, for which we had more than 10,684 examiners who had been nominated, approved, and appointed to evaluate scripts at 689 evaluation centers, which the council had identified in the various schools. The centralized evaluation was scheduled to commence on the 19th of March 2020, and it was to conclude on the 28th of April 2020. However, the COVID situation intervened, and because of that, we had to face new challenges. So the CISE was challenged at that point of time to brainstorm, to create, to implement, to innovate solutions to meet this completely new circumstances at a very, very short notice. And it is for the first time since 2010, when we had first introduced the centralized evaluation, that the council took a decision to decentralize this evaluation process in favor of a safe evaluation process. Therefore, we had to go in for a new marking and evaluation process. For this, the answer scripts were evaluated now by our examiners from the safe confines of their homes. The marks obtained by the candidates were now uploaded by the examiners using the specially developed online marks capture system, which could be used on any device, as it was mentioned before. It would be laptops, your desktops, smartphones, so that the process of capturing of the marks was accurate and it was quick. For the subjects and papers for which the examinations could not be conducted, a panel of highly qualified statisticians devised a formula, and the imputed marks for which were used for these subjects and papers. And accordingly, the council was in a position to process the results and then to declare them. Our results were declared on 10th of July 2020 at precisely 3 p.m. Back to the 2020 results at a glance for the ICSE, we had a total of 2,341 schools where we had candidates of 207,903, of which successfully getting their pass certificates were 206,526 candidates. Now, for the ICSE, we had changed the format for reporting from the year 2019. We are showing this once again this year to re-emphasize what we had started in 2019, that the report, the certificate showed very clearly the breakup of the marks for the subjects English, history, and sciences in paper-wise. So this ensured that we had greater transparency and reporting of the marks in these subjects. For the 2020 recheck, just to re-emphasize on the last slide, where we had started giving the subject marks paper-wise, in the year 2020, we introduced rechecked also paper-wise. So from now on, candidates can apply for recheck for a single paper from any of the multi-paper subjects, that is English or history, geography, or the sciences. Now, for the 2020, the council received, specifically the ICSE section, we received 21,376 recheck requests. Of these, there were 5,348 change cases, and there were 16,028 no change cases. Now, similar to what the ISC department had explained to you, that at the time of the recheck process, we at the council, we came to realize and to note that there were a number of errors committed by examiners. And when we compiled them into a tabular form, we saw that there were 4,269 cases where the examiners did not follow the marking scheme. There were 787 cases where examiners made assessment errors. 777 examiners made totaling errors. And we also had transcription errors of 296 such cases. What I will do again is to emphasize some of the types of errors where visually you as principals can see the mistakes that were committed by the examiners. In the first instance, we have here where there was the omission of marks at the transcription stage, where marks were not transcribed from the inner page of the booklet where the evaluation is taking place and the marks are being noted onto the top page where in the table it is supposed to be inserted. Like from the example here, you see question number 2 was awarded 8 marks, but this was not carried from the inner page to the marks grid, as you can see on the right-hand side. Another type of error that was also noticed was the transcription error again, where marks were inaccurately transcribed from the grid of the booklet to the LICR top sheet. As you can see from the example, the question number 4 had 13 marks, which was awarded by the examiner, and yet on the LICR top sheet it was transcribed to show as 3. Similarly, to brief you of the other errors that were committed, one was where the correct marks, the answers were not corrected, and in some cases incorrect answers were given marks by the examiners. Secondly, it was noticed that the examiners had very limited knowledge on the texts that were being used, so that led to either overmarking or undermarking. And the third instance here where examiners, as I had earlier told you, they were not following the marking scheme, they were following their own marking scheme. And as a result, errors to that effect were 4,269. Now, with the recheck also, we get requests from schools for main weaknesses so that schools can identify what are the problems of their candidates in specific subjects. Our experts compile reports, and these reports are sent to the schools within a short time period. So the ICSE received 4 such requests for English language, 1 for French, 1 for mathematics, 1 for physics, and 1 for chemistry. Again, like it was mentioned for the ISC, for the ICSE 2, we had the compartmental and the improvement exams. And the improvement exam was held for the first time, and this was for those subjects for which the imputed marks were given, and the compartmental was held at the same time, which was introduced for the first time by the CISE last year. So this year, both these examinations were held between the 6th and the 9th of October. For the ICSE, we had 219 candidates collectively, 200 for the compartmental, 19 for the improvement from 120 schools. And we were happy to note that there were 148 candidates who were able to get their PCAs and they were able to move on to the next class. The results of these examinations were declared on the 17th of October. Here, once again, we are sharing visuals of how these exams were conducted during the COVID times. And we must thank our conveners who assisted in the conduct of these examinations at various centers right across India, where instructions were given to them as to how to conduct these examinations. And it is very heartening to know that they carried it out in both letter and spirit. And this will be a good indication for us as to how to conduct it in the next examination of 2021. Now, for the 2021 examinations, preparations are currently underway. And as you can see from the screen there, we have confirmed 219,973 candidates for the 2021 examination, and they are from 2,422 schools and will be seated in 2,204 examination centers. The center arrangements also have been put into place and are almost finalized. Right now, we have appointed 332 conveners to prepare for these 2021 examinations. Now, while we are making preparations for the ICSE 2021 examinations, all schools are expected to complete their class 10 syllabuses latest by the end of February. That leaves both the teachers as well as your students some time for revision. Now, while we have 332 conveners right across the country, we thought it was important to have at least some of them to act as coordinating conveners. So we have 31 coordinating conveners. The reason for this is we have a number of multiple zones, especially in big cities. And therefore, there is a need for these coordinating conveners to coordinate the work in the various centers where we have center arrangements put into place, so that there is a sense of uniformity among the many zones that we have, especially in big cities. Now, for the 2021 examination, we are following the same process that we have put into place for the 2020 examination, where the examiners are taken from the school's teachers database. Now, here we must appeal to all our school principals that you are to constantly keep your teaching staff list of your respective schools updated so that when we select teachers from there, we do not get regrets from them stating that these teachers have left their schools and they have resigned. Now, as was mentioned earlier, we are getting a shortfall of examiners because of the widespread withdrawals from many of our schools. And the reasons that are given by heads of schools are listed above, where they say either they have resigned, they've got family problems, there are health problems, they are not teaching at that particular level. Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue from where we had last stopped. With regard to the submission of internal assessment marks and grades for the ICSE, the online module for submitting the internal marks of the candidates appearing for the examination 2021 was activated from the 1st of December. We have sent a notice to all schools that the last date for doing this will be the 31st of January 2021. And I request all our heads of schools to please maintain the deadline. There is a caution that I would like to stress here, that for those who have already submitted their marks, we are getting a lot of exception cases coming up, where for subjects where 100 marks was to be awarded, we are seeing in the system that they have been awarded only on 20. And therefore, we are conducting the exercise of getting back to the schools. So in order to avoid that up and down between both the council and the schools, I would suggest that before submitting the marks, kindly do a check to see whether it was on 20 to be given or whether it is for 100 marks. Another caution that I would like to place here is with regard to the SUPW. We have 5 grades there, but kindly note that grade E is a failed grade. If a child is allotted an E grade, that means for all practical purposes, he has failed the entire examination. So kindly be mindful of this fact before you award your grades for SUPW. Now, for the assessing of the SUPW and community service, we had sent a circular to all schools dated 3rd of December, in which we have informed schools. There were a number of schools who did mention that they were facing some problems as far as allotting marks for SUPW because they had not conducted the same. So suggestions for that have been given to schools. Further, if you will check the ICSE year 2021 regulations and syllabuses, on pages 294 to 298, very clear and very exhaustive notes are there. Schools may please follow that so that you can complete the awarding of grades for your SUPW. Similarly, we did receive a number of requests from schools where they were not able to conduct or not able to award marks in the projects that have a practical base. For instance, your physics, chemistry, bio, physical education, home science, cookery, etc. And of course, we did see that for most of the schools, you have already conducted these successfully and marks have been uploaded. But for many who have not been able to, I would request you to please write to us and we would be happy to forward you suggestions as per the subject requirement that each school may need in terms of doing the practical base project work and thereafter awarding marks. So please do write to us and we'll be happy to respond to you immediately. Again, as it has been mentioned earlier with regard to the examination stationery, for the ICSE 2021 examination, personalized LICR will not be utilized. We will only be using classic answer booklets. And for schools, you will be intimated with regards to the indent of the stationery for your respective schools in 2021, and that will be through the careers portal. Now, this point of literature and English paper 2, we have explained this in earlier also, where from 2021, 3 books will be mandatory for them to use. One is the play, that is The Merchant of Venice. Then you have your treasure trove of poems and short stories. Now, there is a change in the paper for literature from 2021 onwards. And for this, we have uploaded the specimen paper along with the hospitality management specimen papers there. So we would request you to inform both your teachers as well as your students to log in here, take a copy of this so that they are aware of the type of paper that will be given to them in the 2021 examination. Again, as part of a question that had been forwarded to the council as far as the format of the question paper, please note that the format for the ICSE 2021 question paper remains the same right across all subjects. So there is no change. Planning ahead, like we said, we are constantly always looking ahead, and therefore even for the 2022 examination, registration has been done, and for that we have 2,39,147 candidates who have been registered from a total of 2,538 schools. Updation of the school's contact details. Now, many a times when we have some important information that we would like to share with a particular school, and we call the numbers that are available, and we realize that the numbers are not working or it is an incorrect number. So again, I appeal to all principals to kindly update your mobile numbers and your school landline numbers if we are to continue to have effective and regular communication between the school and the council. In the same line, there is a problem as far as your emails are concerned. It has been stressed before, and I'm re-emphasizing the point, that the council will only correspond with a school through its official email IDs. Personal email IDs we do not communicate with. So kindly bear this in mind. If not, it would lead to a breakdown in our communication with our schools. The national education policy, from the number of questions that have been received by the council, many were related to the NEP. Now, heads of schools, please note that in the absence of a statute, the NEP is presently a broad policy of suggestions and guidelines to be followed. All right. So I will take up a few of the questions that have been forwarded to us in a very brief manner. The first question that had been sent to us was, what are the changes to be incorporated in the curriculum to align with the NEP 2020 principles? Again, many of the elements that are there in the proposed NEP are already present to a large extent in the existing council's curriculum, and it will be further remodeled as per the National Curriculum Framework for School Education 2021, which is presently being developed by the NCERT, and it is expected to be out by July 2021. Another question that was raised was, in the context of the NEP 2020, the new structure of school education, will the ICSE schools have to apply to the council for upgrading to ISC, or by default will it become affiliated secondary schools? Here again, we will re-emphasize that the old module or the present model that we have of 10 plus 2 is now being revised to a 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, which is covering the ages of 3 to 18 years. And it is broken up into the foundational, which is the preschool up to class 2, the preparatory, which is class 3 to class 5, the middle stage, which is 6 to 8, and the secondary stage covers your 9, 10, 11, and 12. So as of now, this is a proposal. More clarity will be given at a later time. Another question that came to us was, with the NEP coming in, the boards, that is the CISC and the CBSE, getting dissolved, what is the status of the council and how would it impact the council schools? Again, let us reiterate as a board that the boards will not get dissolved. The status of the CISC remains the same. In fact, the NEP proposes a number of measures for close interactions with the boards. So the questions of the board getting dissolved does not arise. The next question was, should we implement the NEP from 2021-22, especially with regard to the language policy? The answer is yes. The 3-language formula will continue. Its selection will be the choice of the states, of the regions, and students, so long as 2 out of the 3 languages are native to India. That has been very explicitly mentioned. The next question, again, awareness program for teachers regarding the implementation of the NEP. Now, as per the NEP, the central focus is on teachers, on teacher empowerment, on professional development. So the NEP aims to put teachers at the center of fundamental reforms in the educational system. Now, besides introducing the 4 years integration B.Ed program, there is a component there where it says each teacher is to participate in at least 50 hours of continuous professional development. So the focus of the NEP is teacher-centric, teacher development, teacher enhancement. Another question that came up there was, with reference to the NEP 2020, will there be changes in the curriculum and the medium of instruction in the academic session of 21-22? Again, in the NEP, emphasis has been laid on home language, mother tongue, local language, regional language, till at least class 8 and preferably till class 5 and preferably till 8, wherever possible. However, it has been clarified, please note this, it has been clarified by the Ministry of Education that there needs be no mandatory switch from English as a medium of instruction to mother tongue regional language in an institution where English is the pre-existing medium of instruction. Keep that fact in mind. And the last question, which with regard to the NEP was, what about the national education policy for the ICSE and ISC? Again, in board exam, students will be able to choose subjects depending on their individual interests. The guidelines will be prepared by the NCERT in consultation with the SERT, boards of assessment, which will be the council also, the NAC for any transformation in the assessment system by 2022-23 academic session. So I'm sure that you would have probably many more questions relating to the NEP that you would like to ask. You can forward that to us and the council will be happy to take that up. Thank you. Finally, a word of inspiration from none other than Albert Einstein, that teaching should be such that what is offered is perceived as a valuable gift and not as a hard duty. If we do that, learning and teaching will be fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention, your patient hearing, and I'm sure some of you have noted important points, relevant points as far as the ICSE examination is concerned. We are a team, and teamwork makes the dream work, especially during these difficult COVID times.